Hello, welcome to Jim Creates. It's April in Wisconsin, and that means that the wild leeks, or ramps as some people call them, are emerging from their winter slumber. They emerge every year from mid-April through May and then disappear again as soon as the summer comes. They are found most often in sparsely wooded, shady areas. Wild leeks are easily identifiable by their spear-shaped, solid green leaves and red sheath at their base. Leeks also have a pungent onion smell when picked, and it's a dead giveaway that you've hit pay dirt. Being part of the onion family, they grow from a bulb. However, when you harvest them, you should leave the bulb in the ground, as it takes a long time for leeks to propagate in an area, and removing the bulb can remove the plant for years from that spot. When I'm harvesting the leek tops, I like to move around and not completely deplete one area. I find that it's best practice to leave some of the leaves to grow so you can harvest a steady stream of leeks through the month. If you find a bunch of leeks, take a look around in the general area, and you're probably going to find more nearby. Once again, I'm conscious of how many leaves I take at once. And for today's recipe, I'm going to pick about 4 or 5 cups of leaves and then head to the kitchen. Once I'm back in the kitchen, I start by running a pot of water. I'm going to put about 6 cups of water in the pot, along with 3 chicken bouillon cubes. I put the pot of water on the stove and get the heat cranking on high. Next, I'm going to go ahead and wash my leek leaves and make sure that there's no sticks, bugs, stems, dirt, anything you basically wouldn't want to eat left on the leeks. As soon as the leeks are washed, I give them a quick shake and set them aside so they can drain a little more. Then I peeled 6 potatoes and gave them a rough chop. I used russet potatoes for this recipe, but I imagine you could use whatever type of potatoes you find most appealing. Once the potatoes were chopped and ready, I put them into the hot water and got them boiling. Next, I chopped my leek leaves. I basically just gave them a rough chop and then went back over them a few more times to make sure that they were diced, and then I set them aside. Next, I roughly chopped up some bacon. And got it in a pan and turned the heat on and started it rendering. Once the bacon is rendered, you can remove it from the heat and set it aside after having drained most of the oil. During all that time, the potatoes should have boiled and become soft. Next, I turn down the heat to a simmer and hit the mixture a little bit with the stick blender just to incorporate the potato starch a little bit. But I left some of the larger chunks of potatoes. Next, I added back in the bacon and some of the fat. And then added about a half a teaspoon of parsley flakes, a quarter teaspoon of dried rosemary, and cracked black pepper. And gave it all a good stir to incorporate everything. Next, I added in all of the leek leaves that I had minced. And gave it a good stir to incorporate those as well. At this point, the soup should look pretty green, and it's going to get a little more green. I tasted it and added some salt, and then put the lid on and let it simmer low and slow for a few hours while I made some homemade bread. And that's kind of how we like to have our soup, with a nice hearty loaf of homemade bread. It was time to dish it up. I grabbed my favorite bowl, a nice ladle, and got some soup ready for supper. And there you go, just like that, leek soup. Well, that'll about do it. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you like the content, please leave some comments or any suggestions you might have, and thanks for watching.